Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for hopping on our team training call. Got a super awesome special guest today. I'm really excited for this one. David P, his friends call him DP, VP of FFL Disciples. Thank you for hopping on, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Ty. Thank you for having me on, man.
Absolutely, man. For one, I love the name. And two, man, if you can you share, a couple things, who you are, how you got into this? Because we were just talking, man. I want you to share that with some folks because, in life, I mean, we get thrown a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And I always, personally, whenever I go through stuff, I always look and I'm like, there are people out there that have a lot worse than I do. And I'm very fortunate. We're all very fortunate, to wake up and just be alive. So, man, if you can just share, a little bit of backstory, how you got into this and, some of the stuff you just shared, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So for starters, I mean, graduated university with the bachelor's. Someone, actually a good friend of mine, introduced me to the insurance industry. And I became a captive agent at the time, right? Brand new, didn't know necessarily what I was doing. And during that time, I was going through some health issues. Those health issues is, I was diagnosed when I was very young. They didn't necessarily know when I would receive the symptoms that I was going to receive at the time. And lo and behold, my kidney started failing as I was in the insurance industry, the same time COVID happened. So, going through that transition, going through all the treatments, dialysis, and, it felt like the world was crashing during that time, really. And so for me, I had a daughter, I have a daughter, a wife, she stays at home. So they don't, there's no income coming in. So I'm the main, breadwinner of my family. And for me to go through dialysis, I had to make it work one way or another. Because when you're on dialysis, you can't do hard labor. Hard labor is not a choice for me. And so, I had to pick it up. So in order for me to sustain myself, I had to grind my butt off. I had to grind my butt off during that period of time. And I still remember I went to school. I did dialysis 10 hours a day. And for some people, they don't know what dialysis is or necessarily kind of what it does. But I promise you, just look it up. It's something that's very, it's like cancer. It's like cancer. It changes your whole life. Meaning like anything that, and I'm sure plenty of people have met someone who's had cancer or who's had dialysis or kidney failure. They may not know how they feel, but let's just say this. Anyone who's become sick before, it changes your whole mentality. You no longer care about material things. You just care about your family and your health. That's it. That's all you want. It's good health, spend as much time with your family. And so that was my goal. My goal was I want freedom to spend as much time with my family. But in order for me to do that, I need money. I need capital. I need something to help me and my family, especially with my wife taking care of my daughter at the time. So grinding my butt off during my time at, being a captive agent. And gratefully, by the grace of the Lord, I had a kidney transplant, went through that cycle. And it was a miracle to tell you the truth that I had that. So I'm very grateful. I have a second chance, right? Second chance at life. And so I made sure that anything I do, I want to make sure that my time is very intentional. And in that time, I found FFL. Gratefully, I got to meet Integrity Partners, Nina and Hayden. And, they brought me on board, showed me the ropes. And, they didn't really need to, hold my hand. I just said, look, you guys did this over the weekend. If I can do half of that in a given month, I'll be okay. I'll be fine. And so just got the ball rolling and I'm very grateful for FFL and what it has to offer, man. So that's kind of a little bit about my backstory and kind of where I went through.
Sure. Awesome. I appreciate you sharing some of that. That's, well, God bless you, man. And I'm glad you're here. Glad you're doing well, thriving.
Thank you.
So yeah, guys, so David he's got a team, FFL Disciples, like I mentioned. They're helping over 150 families a month consistently, about 20 writers. Okay. And David on a consistent basis is issue paying, or he's helping, 30 to 40 families a month without skipping a beat. And he's doing this 100% remotely. Okay. And this is one of the big reasons, that he's having a lot of success, but also I want to get him on our call because David, I mean, we have a lot of people that have expressed interest in selling remotely, virtual. I've seen some people have success. I've also seen a lot of people not, and I think there's a few reasons, and I kind of want to hear from you, if you have, let's just say, a brand new agent coming in,
Okay.
whether it be on your team or just from what you would explain to them, like what are some of the upfront expectations you were laying out for them on how to have some success selling remotely? And we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts, but upfront expectations, what are you kind of showing?
Well, first they need to have, it's a mandatory, they need to have phone burner.
Okay.
It's a mandatory. Whether you like it or you don't, it's mandatory to have phone burner. Because especially if you're gonna do telesales, you need to have the numbers in your favor. It's a numbers game. You can't get too emotional in this business, right? People are going to tell you yes. People are going to tell you no. It's the name of the game. If everyone told you yes, we wouldn't be here. They wouldn't need people like us. So phone burner, it's a must-have. That's it. Really, protecting one family is going to take care of phone burner.
There you go.
The third, not even, it's probably going to take care of phone burner for a full 10 months. So, one family, that's literally it. One family setting proper expectations, understanding that, you're going to get, it's like explaining I'm a soccer guy. I'm a big sports, football is, that's the proper way of saying it, but hey, that's just me. But if I'm coaching someone, I'm telling them, look, in soccer, there's 3 ways to go at the enemy or at the opponent, excuse me. You either go to the left, down the middle, or to the right. Those are your 3 objections, right? I want to think about it. I'm busy, or I'm not interested, etc. Whatever it may be. Those are the 3 main objections you're going to get. If you practice every single day, watch podcasts, videos, Paul's Monday wake up morning call, Sean's Saturday morning, training, right? The manager's meeting, etc. You're going to get better. It's not going to happen overnight, but it takes time, right? We get paid like doctors, like lawyers, but we don't have to go through 8 years of school material to get paid like them, right? But you got to understand that they went through 8 years of school. You're trying to get the same amount of pay in over a course of a week. You need to understand that it's going to take some time. Is it going to take 8 years of time? No, but you gotta set those proper expectations. Understand that this is going to take a lot of hard work. You have to dive deep. You have to go all in. And if you're going to do, and this is me personally, if you're going to do telesales, if you're going to do telesales, you're doing telesales. You're not doing a hybrid approach. And that can be contradicting for a few individuals. I see some people, hey, great. Some people it works. But as a brand new agent, you're going to get confused. You're going to get confused on the scripts. You're going to get confused on so many things. That's just to name one. But just focus on one thing, get really good at it. Really, really good. And then if you want to dip your toes into the hybrid system, please do. That's fine, right? You're independent. You can do that. But realize if you really want to get good at this, you need to go all in. You need just to focus on that. So those are the expectations I would set for a new.
Sure. So phone burner is massive.
Yes.
In terms of like types of leads that you run, and I'm sure like most top producers, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure you've sold insurance of every single type of lead that's out there. But what are some of your consistent, week to week lead spend, lead types that you like using?
Yeah. So I spend, just to be aware, I do spend anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. Okay, anywhere between there. Now there's 4 different vendors that I use. 4 different. Obviously, what I like to use mainly is 3-month-old CRM, super, super affordable for, especially for a brand new agent. You're right, you need more bats at swing. So 3-month-old CRM leads, 1-month-old mortgage protection mailers. You're getting it for literally
10th.
like 80% discount compared to those that buy it brand new, and it's only a month old. So literally that. Third, I do also use live transfers. For the vendor, I use EverQuote. That's who I use, right? And the main reason why is I have that 2-minute buffer, right? I wanna make sure I kind of get the nonsense out the way, right? Let them know I'm not the quote guy. I'm the application setter for you to make sure you qualify. So live transfers, and then most important, I like final expense Facebook.
Okay.
As well. So different vendors. I know FFL America has a webpage with different vendors, but Game Time, Happy Agent, and the list can go on.
And you're talking somewhere between all of that combined between 15 and 2000.
15 to 2000. Yeah.
Now, with EverQuote, how much are the live transfers?
They bump up the price.
Right.
So right now they can range, if you're doing final expense, it ranges from $80, and then the most premium is like $135.
Okay. And you're saying that within that first 2 minutes, basically, if you stay under 2 minutes, you get refunded for it, or they don't charge you for it.
Correct.
Anything over 2 minutes, you get charged for it. Yeah.
You do not get a refund whatsoever.
Okay. Got it. And then there's a couple other live transfers out there, but you like using them. That makes sense.
And there's a specific time that I like to use them. On the week.
Got it.
Saturday, Sundays, best times, or Friday, just because statistically, right, you're going to close almost double the amount over the weekend rather over the week. Statistically, that's across the board with any lead vendor.
Yeah.
So
it does make sense. Now that I look back at it, it's like, yeah, people like buying insurance on the weekends. People are usually in a better mood. People are home.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Cool. Now, in terms of like live transfers, I mean, as a new agent, how quickly do you pitch that or get them on it? Or is it more so like a brand new agent? Hey, let's rip 1 month, 3-month-old internet CRM and start there.
Yeah, we'll start there, just because if you're going to do live transfers, you do need a lot more capital. Now, if it's someone who has capital and is willing to go that route, by all means, right? We'll have that script ready so that way you're prepared for it. But mainly for a brand new agent, I want you to understand the systems, the word tracks, right? You need to have a correct tone of voice, right? The words you say, it doesn't really matter what you say, but how you say it, right? Your tone can change on various pitches that I like to say, like, if it's something very serious, you want to keep your tone low so that way they can listen a little bit clearer, right? But if it's something that, you want to explain thoroughly, you want to speak a little bit louder so that way they can hear you a little bit more. So, it just depends, right? Be a chameleon, right? I know Dominique Rogers said that, I believe it at the convention. He said, be a chameleon. And that's adjusting to your client, right? The way they speak, right? So that's kind of the way I would kind of structure and make sure that a new agent understands how to go about that.
Sure. Okay. Now, David, when you, so how many dials do you think you make on a daily basis? I know every lead type is going to be a little bit different, but
yeah,
on average, how many hours a day do you usually work? And then take that into dialing. Because I think a lot of people too, and just from my experience, selling insurance and growing a team and just watching, a lot of people get really, when they get into 1099, like business owner kind of deal, right? Where you can wake up at 7:30 and get to the office by 9:30 and not dial. Now that's probably not going to work unless it works for you. Cool. But like, we know that just doesn't work. And I think in this business, you have to have a lot of discipline, be very self-aware, and be consistent with it.
Absolutely.
So when you're helping 30 families a month and having a team doing, over 150 families a month, like, you guys are obviously doing something right. So can you just kind of break down, your schedule and your day to day when you're selling remote? Like, what does that look like on a day to day, hour basis?
Yeah, absolutely. So I try and wake up anywhere between 5 to 5:30 a.m., get myself ready for the day. And typically I would go work out from about 6 to 7, 7:30, or 6 to 7, excuse me. And then from there, go directly to the office, get set up. I start dialing right around 8 a.m., like right on, like dialing, not setting up, not, checking my back end stuff. Typically, I check in my back end work toward the later of the evening. So that way, whenever it comes to, because for example, once I get in and I start dialing from 8 a.m. to about 11, 11:30. Then I go take a 2-hour break. So I break from 11 to 1. During that mid-morning break, do I need 2 hours for lunch? Absolutely not. But what I'm doing is I'm doing my back end office work that I prepared myself from the previous evening. So I know if certain clients are going to be in underwriting, others are going to be, you got to do some paperwork here and there, fix maybe some beneficiaries, do some back end work. Maybe a client got NSF for some reason, you try and get it back on the books, etc. That's that specific time for that, right? I'll probably be eating while I'm calling, America or Mutual
Right.
on their whole line.
Sure.
Because they have those days, right?
Yep.
So, and then I get back on the phones from about 1 to about 4. And I give myself about 30 minutes to an hour break, just or recruiting, right, during that time. And then from there, get back on the phones from 5 to 8, 5 to 9.
Okay.
And that's literally my day to day. And then after 9, I'll check to see if there's any back end office work that I missed or that I need to catch up on. Now, of course, if you don't have any back end office work, that means more time for recruiting or more time for dials, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're very prepared, well thought out, thorough with your schedule. You kind of know what to walk into every single day. I like dealing with the back office stuff and making sure you're ready. You gave yourself, 2 hours and sometimes less per day to deal with that stuff.
Yeah.
Because, you look at that can cost you a lot of money if you're not persistent with it and staying on top of it.
Exactly.
Having to fight it back. So, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense why you have a lot of success doing this, man. So could you talk a little bit about, 'cause I know you've talked about the tone on the phone and, overcoming objections. Like, what are some tips that you can give the folks on this call regarding structure on actually, I'm gonna take a step back. I mean, you're trying to one call close a lot of times, right? Like you talk to them, you're trying to get them all set up right then and there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is some tips regarding structure, to set the appointment up, set the tone? Hey, this is what we're doing. Here's how it's going to work, and so on and so forth.
So on and so forth. Okay. So so what I'll do is, obviously when I begin my script, I want to introduce myself, right? Because they don't know who they're speaking with, right? So I got to make sure that my tone of voice is that the first sentence, 2 sentences of your script is your moneymaker. That is your moneymaker. If you do not know how to properly say the beginning of your script, you're losing a lot of money, right? You want to make sure your tone of voice is someone that's serious, that's straightforward to the point, and they understand who you are and that you're not a telemarketer. Because immediately, as soon as someone calls me and I don't know your number, I'm just going to assume you're a telemarketer. Does that mean that you are? No, but that's just my assumption. Right. So I got to make sure that whenever I call somebody and they don't have my number, I got to make sure I sound like I'm not a telemarketer. Right. I know Brandon Kitchings, he has different openings, etc. I like using his a few times. So I'll just say, hey, Ty.
Yeah.
Hey, Ty. Yeah. Hey, Ty, this is David. I was just giving you a quick call. Just wanted to let you know I'm not a telemarketer, but I was supposed to give you a call in regards to the life insurance coverage that you requested. You listed your date of birth as October 18, 1995. Is that correct? Perfect. And then, so on and so forth. So in that beginning introduction, next would be, why are you calling? Well, I'm calling because you requested this information, because you filled out the form online, because you mailed in this mailer in regards to X, Y, and Z. right? And if they say, oh, I don't remember doing that, not a problem. I barely remember what I eat for breakfast sometimes. But just to remind you, right? I like to crack jokes here and there, right? If I can make someone laugh, they open up. They know that I'm human. It's hey, look, I barely remember what I eat for breakfast sometimes. That's completely okay. But just to remind you, it was that form in which, if it's mortgage protection, where if you, God forbid, you get a disability, illness, or God forbid, pass away, it would pay off the entire mortgage for you and your family. And that's what you were looking for, correct? Okay, great. And then, move forward from there, right? You always want to end it with the question. So,
Sure. Now, do you have basically when you say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm calling, do you have 5-10 minutes right now? We can take care of this. Do you ask that, or what do you do?
I just say, go ahead and grab a pen and paper for me. Let me know when you're ready.
Got it.
If they have time to pick up the phone, they have 5-10 minutes.
Okay. So you're very assumptive. Now, do you so they go, all right, got my pen and paper. Do you set up exactly what's about to happen in terms of, I'm going to ask you some questions, run through this, health questions, submit banking information, social, all that stuff? Do you go over that before you start that financial inventory?
No, I do not. And the reason being is, if you were to tell me that, granted, yes, you're being very upfront, absolutely, but that could turn me away. Just because, I don't know you. Yeah, I have a pen and paper. Yeah, I got your name. Maybe I have your license number. But for me, it's that's a random number. You could give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Sure.
So, for me, that doesn't, I have to build credibility. At that point, when I grab the pen and paper, I go ahead and tell them, go ahead and write my full name, my license number, and you're going to receive a message with a picture of me, my license within that state, as well as a credibility. Credibility as in you can use the credibility sheet showing all the insurance carriers and precisely what you do, right? Whether that's life insurance, mortgage protection, or retirement planning, right? That specific sheet of paper, I go ahead and send that over via text message with all 3 key pieces of information. And I let them know, hey, before we move forward, I wanted to make sure that you receive that text message. Okay, did you have time to look over it? Okay, great. I know I'm not a celebrity, so don't get excited, but that way you have my information and you're dealing with the professional, okay? They're like, okay, perfect, right? That right there is cool. They can put a name to a face. They got my license. It shows my address, so they know where I live, right? And so, I can crack jokes at that, because if they're if they give me an objection over Social Security or banking, I'm like, hey, look, I already sent you my license with the state. You even have my address, right? So you already have my information. That way, you're dealing with the professional. So what's your social again? Right? And then I just go back to it. Don't make it a big deal. And kind of go from there. As soon as I build that credibility and I understand kind of where I'm coming from, then I'll say, okay, so back to the mortgage protection. Okay, so were you just looking for information for just yourself, or was it for somebody else? They explain their situation. They remember what it's about. And I say, okay, great. What my job is to do is to make sure that, number one, that you are who you say you are, and that no one's trying to, I'm trying to prevent fraud being thrown under your name. Secondly, I'm going to be asking you a few medical and financial questions to see how much you can qualify for your mortgage protection. Fair enough? Yes. Okay, great. And then I move over to the financial inventory sheet.
Got it. Okay. What happens when you get somebody that, they have a spouse, significant other, or they rush you off the phone? Hey, I'm at work. I can't talk right now. Click. What does that look like? A couple of different objections, things that are common that you see, and kind of how you get around them.
Yeah. I mean, if someone says, hey, I'm busy right now, I'm at work. Hey, John, look, I completely understand. I'm at work too. My job is just to give you that information. If you got 5 to 10 minutes, we can go ahead and get it knocked out. I'll push it just to see what they respond with. Now, if they're like, hey, look, I really can't do this right now. Well, there's not much I can do, because they're not going to pay attention. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm pretty busy too myself. What time are you typically off from work, Ty? Are you typical 9 to 5 like most people? And, they'll say, oh, I get off work. Okay, got it. What time do you get into, what time do you walk in the door to your home? Oh, 6. Got it. I don't know if I'll be available at 6, because I have a few appointments during that time. But if I have time, just make sure you save my number. Okay, it's David, and I'll try and reach out to you either later this evening, worst case tomorrow evening. That way it builds a little bit of credibility, letting them know that, hey, look, I'm busy myself. I help other families as well. But if I have the time, I'll try and reach out, a little bit later around that time. And they're like, okay, fine. Perfect.
And during that time, I mean, you're not expecting them to answer. You're just going to keep on going, keep on dialing, keep doing your thing. And
exactly.
if you do have time, you will call them. And if they answer, cool.
I'll put it on my calendar.
Right.
Like I'll just triple, quadruple book if it's that same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll just put it on there and just say, hey, follow up. That's it. It's not an appointment. It's just a quick follow up. Hey, follow up. And that's it. It's not an appointment. I'm not expecting anything major out of it. Now, sometimes what I like to do, if I know it's someone who, you could tell by the tone of voice if someone's really wanting the coverage, and I will call with the same number. But sometimes I like to call with a different number. And it's really weird because when I call with a different number, they're not expecting me a lot of times. And then they're like, oh crap. And then, because they were expecting a 214 number, but then I'm calling from an 817 number, for example.
Now, with phone burner, obviously you can pick a number there, but you're getting, those are your internet leads. What do you dial? Any aged mailer, like or game time lead? Like what phone do you use for that? Do you use a sideline or an actual separate account, a separate phone, or your own phone?
Sideline. I'll sometimes use my personal number. So like if it's Facebook Final Expense, typically I like to use my personal number because my name pops up. It always typically says maybe David or David Pinilla, it'll say my full name. And so people are like, David, I don't know David, but it doesn't say scam likely. So, let's see who this is. Right.
Sure. Okay. What are some things that you do? Obviously you're really assumptive. I think you kind of already hit on this, but this is more of a directed question. Like, how do you get people to move on the spot?
Mm-hmm.
To get them to, because I mean, we all know it's kind of the same deal when you go into people's homes. It's like, usually if you don't get them approved or get them a policy then and there, it's usually not very likely to get back to talk to them again. And obviously over the phone, you're dealing with, it's a different animal, but like, what are some things that you do to get people to, to move on the spot, to take that step and get their family protected with insurance, right?
That's the proper expectations.
Okay.
I set the proper expectations. And, in the event that someone were to get declined or, it's a graded policy, et cetera, I just simply before it gets to that point, I'm going to explain, all right, John. So in the meantime, as they're making a decision, one of three things are going to happen. Okay. And it's either going to be a green light, which simply means, hey, you got approved, immediate coverage, thumbs up, you're good to go. Okay. The second is going to be a yellow light. One or two things are going to happen there. They're either going to approve you, but they're going to adjust the coverage, or they need to review it to make sure that the application that we submitted is correct and everything looks perfect on the application. Okay. And worst case scenario is you do get declined. Now, like I was saying before, John, in the event you were to get declined, obviously, I'm your broker for life. So I'm able to go from one carrier to the next to make sure we get you that immediate approval coverage. Does that make sense? So if that happens, don't sweat it. We will make sure that your family is properly protected. Like I know you want to make sure that Mary doesn't have to go through those finances, right? Absolutely. Okay, great. And then I'll tie it in with their why and go from there.
Okay. Now, David, were you helping 30 families a month your first month?
No.
Okay. How long did it take you to get to that point?
3 months.
3 months?
3 months.
Now, were you very aggressive, if you will, in terms of lead spend, getting on calls, dedicating your work to this? when you first
Oh, yeah.
started? Did you
Absolutely.
did you dip your toe in, or did you just jump in?
I dipped my toe in for the first month.
And how did that work?
It worked so well. Only protected 8 to 10 families in that month full time.
Can you explain why that's dangerous when you get into this, trying to dip your toe in?
It's like going half in for a business, right? Like, you are a business owner, this is your business. For me, I didn't understand like ROI. Like, I was brand new to business. I had no idea, okay, these are my expenses. This is my profit. This is my revenue, how that's going to look like, what, these certain things were. And to be quite honest with you, I just didn't want to buy leads. I just didn't. I just did not want to buy leads. And but Hayden told me, look, man, like, if you want to make this certain amount, you have to do this, because if you spend this and you make this, well, this is your profit, right? That's better than not getting any leads, and this is your profit. Well, it made sense, but it started clicking after, like, I went through trial and error and started kicking myself in the foot. And then I was like, all right, first month didn't go as planned, but it is real. When I first got my first Americo commission, I was like, okay, it's pretty interesting here. Okay, I like it. So, ever since that taste, I was like, okay, yeah, it works. Like, I got that confirmation it works. And then I was like, all right, second month, all right, it's brand new. I got to make it happen. Like, I got to go, like, I'm going to just go all in. I already went through a full month, so I have some sort of idea of what's going on. But let's get through all the nooks and crannies of it. So
cool. Do you have thanks for sharing that.
absolutely.
That's transparent. That's the truth, right? I think that's what separates a lot of people in this business. It's like, if you dive full in and treat it like it's a full-time job. And I'm so guilty of this too, but even, it baffles me too. It's like, myself included, raising my hand. And also, new agents that come in, is they come from a 40-hour week job.
Yeah.
And they come into this and expect to get the same result putting in 25, 30 hours.
Yeah.
Or they expect to actually make more than what they were making. And it's just like, but I think that's coming from W-2 to 1099. It's 1099, like, you run the show. If you're not working, your business isn't making money. And if your business is making money, you're not making money. So, well, cool. Can you, one more thing, actually, how many, because you already talked about your schedule, do you have any set, like, goals for the day in terms of presentations? Like, I want to talk to this many people per day, and if I do this is what I can expect at the end of the month when I look at, the P&L.
Yes, absolutely. So my goal, I typically go on a weekly basis with telesales. So I try and do 30 appointments in a given week, because I work Monday through Saturday. Saturday, my schedule is a little bit different, right? I want to spend time with my family, my daughter, but I set proper expectations that I need 30 presentations. Presentations are not, excuse me, presentations are when they grab the pen and paper, and as soon as they write down my information, that's when the presentation begins.
Got it.
Because they should already know what this is about and how it's going to work. Now, granted, right, if for something, but I want to make a full presentation, that's 30. I want at least 30. And, Monday through Friday, so that's about 5 a day, 5 presentations a day. I tell myself when I first began telesales, one family protected pays the bills.
Explain that.
One family protected out of 5 families that I sit with, I know that my family is going to be okay.
Got it.
Hands down.
Sure.
That's what, 6 families a week, 6, 12, 18, 24 families in a month, right? Granted, as you're going to get better, right? That's bound to happen. And then before you know, you're going to start helping protect 2 families a day. Well, 2 families a day, that's 12 families in a week, 12, 24, 36, 48. You just protected 48 families in a given month.
Right.
But it's just, kind of breaking it down from there.
Good stuff, man. And I appreciate you being so transparent with all this, because, even when I was down in Dallas and I saw you, first time I met you, I just watched you work too, man. And it was pretty cool, because, you had the live transfers going, and as calls came in and as you were one call closing, you're shutting off live transfer, turning them back on, and you were working, man, and you were getting after it. But in that time, I think I was there for, maybe an hour, in and out of Rob's office, talking to him, and I think you actually like talked to like 3 people. You had like 3 presentations, like an hour.
Yeah.
And it blew me away because there's pros and cons to everything, right? But the one big pro that I love about selling remotely is, as long as you're effective and you're consistent and efficient with it, you just got 3 presentations in an hour, right? And when you're out in the field, not saying the field's bad by any means, like I prefer running in person. I really do. But when when you're driving and you're going no show and one to the other, and when you're over the phone, I mean, you can just, as long as you're effective and you're actually working, when you sit down and it's time to work, you're working, it can be an awesome thing. Absolutely. I mean, you're a perfect example of that, dude. This has been good stuff. Is there anything else you would want to throw into this? Any other tips that we really didn't cover, that I didn't ask about, that would be beneficial to a new agent?
Surround yourself with like-minded individuals and winners, hands down, right? I mean, I plug into the office every single day. Rob can attest to that. I think I plug into the office a little, I probably shouldn't say it, but more than Rob. But it's competition. I like it, right? Gage Peer is here. Rob Richmond is here. Top producers, people who actually, are in the business, killing it, right? And I surround myself with those individuals. And before I know it, I know eventually I will become that same individual. So I just plug into the office, get close with like-minded individuals who are producing at a high level. Yes, you can surround yourself with producers, but the difference is the high-level producers, because you're going to see that, and I think this is the number one thing, being intentional with your time. Being intentional with your time, especially doing telesales, because you can get mixed up with a lot of, oh, I got to do this, or I got to do this. Oh, they said, and then you whine about it. And like, for example, exactly how you said it, Ty, I had 3 presentations in 1 hour. If I moped around and, someone told me no while you were there, I probably wouldn't have had 3 presentations. I probably should have had 1 if I moped around, said, they said no, I suck. Or, I talked bad about myself. But rather, instead of just worrying about that, I had short-term memory. Hey, unfortunately, I couldn't help this family. It's on to the next. I don't have time to waste. So being intentional with your time, I would say that's the number one thing, especially when it comes to telesales, is being structured, being intentional, and having those systems in place where it's going to work out as long as you put in the work.
And willingness to learn and change.
Huge.
And be wrong and fail, and I definitely did see you get hung up on. And what you did is you just turned around and went right back at it. Like, it didn't even bother you, right? They just told you no, but the next person told you yes, and everything was fine, So, well, sweet dude, I appreciate you sharing and learning from you, man. Awesome, incredible story. God bless you, man. I can't even imagine, but it's incredible to see where you were and where you are now. You keep killing it.
Just all thanks to the man above, man, that he's allowing me to share this testimony. I hope it helps anybody who listens on. And I appreciate you, man, for having me on. It's been a pleasure. And I can't wait to, see you in person soon, man, for sure.
Amen to that, bro. You as well, man. Well, again, thanks for hopping on, man. And let's keep the hammer on. Let's keep going, man.
Let's do it, man.
Cool.
All right, bro. Take care.